understand the magnanimity and the soul of this movie, you probably will have to watch it twice. Hi everyone, welcome to I Just React and Review. My name is Ashmita and I hope you all are doing well. And today I want to share my thoughts on a fantastic Tamil film that I watched sometime back. It's Iruvar, directed by Mani Ratnam and starring Mohanlal and PrakashRaj in the lead roles. This movie released in 1997 and it is probably one of the best political dramas written. So yes, without delaying this any further, let's get into the detailed analysis. This is a political drama inspired loosely by the lives of M.G. Ramachandran or MGR and M. Karunanidhi. Anandan, played by Mohanlal, is a struggling actor who strives to become a superstar and make it big in the film industry. And you see his journey where he is jumping from one small role to another and struggling to find good work until one day he lands the role of his dream as a lead. He gets acquainted and eventually becomes friends with Tamil Selvam, played by PrakashRaj, who is hired as a writer for his film. From this point onwards, we get to witness the entire dynamics between Anandan and Tamil Selvam, and which is what makes this movie so engaging and legendary. The story follows both their lives parallelly, with Anandan's rise in the world of cinema and his eventual transition into politics on one side, and Tamil Selvam's rise in politics from a party worker to Chief Minister of the state on the other side. The story charts a significant timeline of these two characters, which of course makes us invested in these two as a viewer and also keeps us highly engaged throughout the entire movie. But I have to admit this honestly that I had to pause in a couple of scenes and go back to completely get the grasp of that particular scene. The story is written and directed by Mani Ratnam. Now, coming to the writing, there is actually a lot, and I mean a lot, to talk about the writing. Number one, no spoon feeding. Like I said previously, I had to pause in a couple of scenes and go back to rewatch them, but that is really necessarily not a bad thing, because I really like when a director actually makes the audience understand and use their brains on where we are at the story. The best part about the writing was that whenever there was a time skip in Anandan and Tamil Selvan's lives, it was always up to the audience to gauge into the situation and figure out. Number two, the character development of both the protagonists is so layered and nuanced, which is why we get so much invested into these two. And this is such a huge credit to Mani Ratnam's writing style, because usually what happens with two protagonists is that you get an affinity most of the time towards one character. You start liking one character more than the other. But here the writing is such for both of them that you root for both of them. Surprisingly, you root for both of them, and surprisingly, you root for their friendship. Number three, the depiction of politics and cinema. I think for me, at least, this is one of the best portrayals of both the worlds coming together and how one influences the other. For example, in the second half of the film, there is a scene where Anandan makes a song dissing the government in power to influence the public opinion. And Tamil Selvam, who is the chief minister at that point of time, tells his ministers that, we cannot get scared just by a mere song, and we cannot ban that particular song because otherwise it will portray a negative image of the party. And that particular scene, the way it has been written, feels so realistic. I mean, this is something that actually happens. Number four, flawed lead characters. Usually what happens when it comes to commercial politics drama is that the hero or the lead is shown or supposed to be shown as the perfect ideal character. Here what I liked was that both of these characters were imperfect. When they were young and starting out, they had all these idealistic thoughts about changing the society, upliftment of society, ending caste discrimination and whatnot. But as they started rising in their careers and eventually became political opponents, all the other factors like greed, power, turning a blind eye to the corruption in their party, all of these came into play. This gave the film a commercial as well as a realistic appeal. Also, both the protagonists in the film have been shown to commit adultery, which is a risk that a lot of directors would not have taken at that point of time, specifically because it was a commercial cinema. For Mani Ratnam to take that route, I think big kudos to him. Now, coming to direction, what I really admired was that even though this was largely the story of Anandan and Tamil Selvam, every every character got its shine. We do see, even though briefly, the women that influenced their lives. Also, I admired how well Mani Ratnam managed to create a balance of larger than life persona versus the real person. I am anyway a huge Mani Ratnam fan because of the way he directs the movies and tells stories. So already my expectations were very high before starting the film, and yes, he did not disappoint. Okay, now let's talk about the music. Here I have mixed opinion. If you see the discography, if you see the entire album and judge it basis on the music, it is fantastic. I mean, this is one of those rare films where I have seen the music variety of so many genres. The variation is incredible. Now, if I look over from the quality to the quantity, there are a lot of songs, and I mean a lot of songs. In fact, I feel that at some points of time, the songs were completely unnecessary. Though Mani Ratnam has tried to show the songs as part of the narrative that it is basically being shot in a movie set, which is fine because you're showing the world of cinema, but at many places it did not work for me because it was not pushing the narrative forward. And yes, I'm extremely aware that I'm making this comment with my viewing lens of 2021. If, of course, I look at it from the perspective of 1997, that many songs, well, was not a big deal. So yes, Mani Ratnam, being the genius that he is, knew that the placement of all of these songs would work in the favor of this film. Even though all the songs in the album are nice because A.R. Rahman, for me, the song which actually stuck with me was the one which was shot with Mohanlal and Madhu. That's a fabulous song. Only a person living under a rock would not know of Santosh Sivan's cinematographic genius. He is an absolute master at what it does, and the cinematography of this movie is nothing less than magical. And this is coming from me after watching this film in an awful print on Amazon Prime. And this was a little shocking as well as disappointing for me because I have seen films from that period of time with much better prints. Nonetheless, I could still make out how beautifully the camera work has been done. This is a magnum opus, and Santosh Sivan has managed to capture that aura, that scale so well through his camera. I want to give a big shout out to the production design team here because usually I don't mention it separately or specifically in most of my reviews, but here I definitely want to mention them. Every set piece, whether it be big and small, was perfect, beautiful, and like I said, again I'm saying it with respect to the horrible print that I watched. All the film sets where Anandan was shooting, all the sets where big rallies and speeches were happening, everything was perfect. You can absolutely make out how much detailing has gone into making each of these sets, so I really am appreciative of the production design team. When a movie is directed by Mani Ratnam, you know that he is bound to get unbelievable performances out of his actors. Before I come into Mohanlal and PrakashRaj, I first want to applaud all the female actors that were part of this film. Aishwarya Rai in her double role of Pushpa and Kalpana, Gautami as Ramani, Tabbu as Selvam's lover, and Revati as Selvam's wife. All four of them were fantastic. For me, Gautami and Tabbu were absolute standouts, even with their tiny role. Now, Aishwarya Rai has the maximum screen time amongst all the female actors, and of course, a big part of that is because she is part of most of the songs. But nonetheless, her portrayal of Kalpana and Pushpa were fantastic. And considering this was her first film, the contrast shown in both of these characters was really amazing. It just goes to prove again that if you're under a good director, then that particular director is going to recognize your potential as an actor. Nasir also has a very brief role as party leader, but even though it is brief, it is highly significant. Now coming to both the leads, when I started watching this movie, I was in it to see Mohanlal's performance. But who completely stole the show for me was PrakashRaj. I was already expecting a great performance by Mohanlal, but PrakashRaj completely shook me with his acting. I mean, looking at his filmography, particularly in the Hindi film industry, it is absolutely nothing compared to what he has acted in this movie. I feel the directors in Bollywood have completely underutilized him. His dialogue delivery, the command he had when he was talking, his entire aura, he literally looked like the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu. And then coming to Mohanlal, I was watching this film and I was getting reminded of his performance in Thanmatra and then both the Drishyams, and then I was looking at the screen and thinking, How talented is this man? The range that he has shown in his character with his acting, starting with an innocent glimmer in his eyes that he wanted to become a superstar to a shrewd politician. It's fantastic. Casting for me was gold, just like the ending of this film was where Prakash Raj was reciting that poem. Perfect. Watch it for the direction, watch it for the great performances, watch it for the beautiful songs, watch it for the amazing production value, but don't watch it on Amazon Prime because the print is awful. So yes, those were my thoughts on the 1997 Tamil film Iruvar. I hope you have enjoyed this review and have come till the end of the video, and I will see you on my next video, guys. Bye bye.